worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing The Meg. It's a movie about sharks and Jason Statham's HGH dealer, amongst other things. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me tonight, first up, he comes from Chicago. He drinks beer. His name is Joe.
Oh, hey, everybody. How's it going tonight? Oh, it's great to hear.
Great. We just went through about half an hour of technical difficulties, but we're making it happen here tonight, Joe. Making the magic happen.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the Meg.
Yeah. Next up on the show, bringing his beard game. It is strong. Please welcome the... What's your job, Andy? What's like your fancy title I can call you?
Yeah, man, I don't think we've ever established one. Sophistical co-host, resident weirdo.
No, I mean like in real life. You're like a what? You like run a theater or something.
In real life? Yeah, I run a theater.
What do you call that? Like a projectionist?
No, I'm a house manager.
Like a grand master? Oh, that doesn't sound right.
No,
No.
not quite. Yeah. I want to know between Eric and Joe, which one of you are going to give us the gratuitous torso shot today?
Oh, I've already finagled with my lights for about 45 minutes. So hopefully I'm done moving.
I've been working on my fitness lately, Andy. I'm trying to get in shape before the baby comes so I can withstand the onslaught that's about to hit me.
I'm not going to lie, Eric, you are one negative beard away from being Jason Statham.
Yeah? No, I feel that way a lot. Thank you for acknowledging
You might say
it.
that their fitness channel on Slack has been really popping recently.
We are doing the Lord's work in there, hooking up people with all their fitness needs and advice, and it's really an amazing thing happening in there.
For all you lady fans out there, we spent a good 2 days discussing the right kind of sports bra to run in, and like I said, that was no sarcasm. It was great. That channel is amazing.
Legit.
Should we mention the first ever BGH virtual 5K that we're doing at the end of
Sure.
October?
Well,
I would say so.
let me just say lastly here, please welcome Sophie to the show.
Hello.
Hi. That's it. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a sort of drunken. My office had their summer party last week, and I don't know why, but on the train ride home, when I had a few beers in me, I started thinking it would be fun to do a virtual 5K with all of our listeners, mainly because of that Slack channel. Like everybody's been talking about how they're running and trying to do.
Dude, I learned so much about proper boob support when running this week. It's incredible. I feel like I know so many things now.
So we created a Facebook event. We're going to post something up on the site, but pretty much the way this is going to work is the weekend of October 27th. So that's Saturday and Sunday. All you'll have to do is go out and run a 5K, which is 3.2 miles. Track it on whatever app you want, Runkeeper, Nike Plus, whatever you're using, and then send us an email with a screenshot and the results. And if you can, a link to your run. And then we'll sort of compile the best races, and we'll send out some prizes, and we'll probably do something for everybody that entered. But it's completely free. We're just doing it because it seems like a fun idea. We'll see how things go, and hopefully we'll be doing this every year. But more info will be posted up on the site and on Facebook. But yeah, it should be a good time.
Can we talk about that there might be, like prizes?
Yeah, we're kind of discussing it now. We're, going back and forth between what we're going to do, but definitely like the top three finishers will be getting like sort of an exclusive prize. And then the plan is to send out some swag to everybody that participates in one form or another.
And there's a special prize for the best GPS drawing of the BGH logo you can do.
Oh, I like that idea.
Joe,
yeah, we should have some like special prizes for sure.
Joe isn't lying either. At the end of this long post where he's like super excited about this idea, he just was like, I may just be drunk. Let's come back to it in the morning. And then the next morning he's like, nah, this was a great idea.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I've seen like a lot of places are doing this now. because people, especially like Disney, is now charging people to do these like virtual races because people can't get down there and they're just ridiculous.
Yeah,
but-
I'm definitely in. I'm sure Andy's in because he's a literal beast of a human being. Sophie, you're in, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to say, for those of you out there who are thinking, I'm going to run a 5K in October, what could I possibly listen to? Might I recommend the It Follows score for running, because it will absolutely make you run faster. It is
Yeah,
very
I bet.
effective.
I bet.
But yeah, it should be a good time. So,
Mark also claims that we'll be able to guilt him into doing it.
Yeah, apparently he will.
So
I mean,
I don't know if we were gonna endorse a Couch to 5K plan in case people were looking for that, because I figured some people would maybe need a little guidance.
yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people that's kind of what sparked the idea. A lot of people have been talking about on the Slack channel that they've started doing that program. I'm not super familiar with it because it didn't exist when I started running. It just pretty much Couch to 5K meant just go outside and start running.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, it works great. So we can probably post up some info on that and different plans that people are doing. But it should be a good time. There's no like pressure to finish in a certain amount of time. Just go out and do what you can, and just be a part of the magic.
And if you want workout tips, just get on that fitness channel on Slack, because there's all kinds of questions being answered over there, and people just genuinely having good chats.
It's amazing, yeah. For me to do a Couch to 5K, I would have to actually time myself, which makes me sad, so I literally never do it. So I wouldn't even really know how far I'm running, except it drives my wife insane that I don't know. So she'll ask me like where I went and then just like type it in and be like, "Oh, you just did this." I'm like, "I don't want to know." Just
Yeah, that's nuts. I'm sure your wife is the same as me. Like I get super stressed about like knowing exactly how far I've gone, like to the
it's all,
point
but
where
it's to me, it's like it's whatever motivates you, right? If that motivates you, like that's awesome. What motivates me is just doing it, and that's it. Like I don't care anything else, Because I think some people stress themselves out about the times when it's not,
Yeah, I mean, a few years back, I just gave up on ever being able to like get an amazing time for like a marathon or a race, and like once you kind of accept the fact that like just finishing is a big deal, then
I don't know, Joe. My wife had a baby and then beat her marathon PR. What's your excuse?
I turned 40 this year and beat my marathon PR from back when I was 26.
Nice.
So
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good for you, dude.
What you got to do is injure yourself partway through your first marathon, so you finish it real slow, and then you're just set up for success when you run your next one.
All right. So, is there a way? Did they have to sign up for that, Joe, or like?
No, you don't have to. We'll post information on the site. If you do want to kind of chat with folks doing it and you're not a part of the Slack channel, you can go on our Facebook page and there's an event there. But once we kind of finalize how you're going to enter and send in results, we'll post up a Facebook. A post on the site so everybody can partake. Because we did get a few folks we mentioned on Twitter that aren't on Facebook. So,
and I'm sure you already said it, but have we picked a specific date?
Yeah, it's the last weekend in October, the 27th and 28th. So pretty much that's a good point. Like there's no specific time you have to do this, just sometime over that Saturday or Sunday, just send in your results and then we'll kind of go from there.
But you could coordinate with some other people too if you wanted to kind of start it at the same time,
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Like maybe we will like the crew here will coordinate an actual time, then if folks want to do that when we are, like by all means.
Totally. Cool.
And the best part about doing it at that date is that you don't have to worry about those goo capsules. You can just grab a handful of candy corn and just use those as you're going.
I mean, it's basically pure sugar, so there you go.
And equally as gross as those goo packets. So
you can power your 5K with corn syrup and other corn byproducts. Joe.
Yes, sir.
We're running late tonight, and I am not going to go over because I'm tired. So let's get right to it, buddy. What are we drinking tonight? Beer guts.
The Meg, beautiful little feature film about Jason Statham fighting a gigantic shark. Andy, or anybody on the show, are you familiar with what a boatswain is?
Oh, I am not.
I feel like I should be.
That apparently is a ship's officer in charge of equipment and the crew.
Is that the guy with the whistle? The wee woo?
I think he might be, yeah. The picture has a whistle. So I picked a beer from the fine folks at Rhineland Brewing Company. That's up in Wisconsin, right around the Dells, if you will. I think the name of the town is, oh, it actually is Rhineland, Wisconsin. And the name of this beer is the, Boatswain Chocolate Stout. Yes. Very good as we're kind of getting into the fall months here. I don't know if you guys noticed, like a lot of like the pumpkin beers and, October beers are starting to get their way into stores. Pumpkin spice lattes are just like 2 weeks out from coming to the Starbucks, so I'm very excited.
Yummy.
It's a war on Halloween.
So the trouble I have with some chocolate stouts is they're sometimes a little too sweet, but this one I feel like is really well balanced. You get a lot of that malt, but that cocoa really kind of comes through. So it's a great, like, easy drinking stout. Only comes in at about 5.4% alcohol, so not super high, whereas most stouts kind of run around that. So definitely not something that is going to get you too hammied if you want to maybe have a couple of these and then go out and run your 5K. Rhineland Brewing Company, they put out some great stuff. They've kind of disappeared, then come back over the years. They've got a pretty long history. Distribute mostly in Wisconsin, but I think they do get some of their bigger shipments outside, so you can probably find these in your neck of the wood if you look real hard. Their website is rhinelandbrewery.com, and I wholeheartedly recommend any of the stuff they put out.
All right. Thank you for that, Joe.
There you go. Thank you.
My buddy. That's the beer recommendation. Something you get here every week on the show. It is now time, ladies and gents, to talk about the Meg.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Okay, guys. Hey, Andy.
You're muted.
You're muted, buddy.
I just unmuted.
Thank you for telling me your actions.
No, still can't hear you.
Can you synopsize this for me?
Oh.
I would love to, Eric. So The Meg, directed by one Mr. John Turteltaub.
Who is Mr. Turteltaub besides having one hell of a name?
Yeah, so folks might know him from the variety of Nick Cage starring vehicles, including the National Treasure films, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, as well as a personal favorite, the John Travolta vehicle Phenomenon from back in the 90s. Yep.
Phenomenon.
It's that guy. So those are kind of like some of his bona fides, if you will. Also, let me not forget, Joe, you'll appreciate this. Chicago's very own While You Were Sleeping director, John Turteltaub.
Ooh. Chi-Town stand up.
Not to mention Cool Runnings and Three Ninjas. So.
Oh, okay. Well, never
something
mind.
about him.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, he directed Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
All right, now I'm impressed.
The Dougie Doug vehicle.
Joe legit just perked up. He's like, wait a second. Excuse me?
Not to get too off track, but my favorite memory of the Disney cruise that we took was they actually played Cool Runnings at like 9 o'clock at night on the deck, like overlooking the pool. And you can still get like chicken sandwiches and burgers and stuff like that late at their counter service.
That sounds pretty legit.
Yeah, like you can
I'm with
gorge
you.
yourself, have your foot in the pool, and watch Cool Runnings.
Long Island iced tea action.
Exactly.
Anyway, Andy, there was a point there somewhere, I'm sure.
All right, so The Meg, directed by John Turteltaub, is based on the novel of the same name, I believe. Oh, no, the novel is just called Meg by Steve Alton. And that spawned a number of different other entries in that book series. And this movie's been in development for quite some time. Various different filmmakers were trying to get it made for definitely over like 10 years, maybe even longer. So the premise, we open on a Jason Statham playing Jonas, who of course is a submersible rescue person because that's a job you have in a movie. And he encounters a downed submarine, and while he's attempting to rescue people off of that submarine, it is attacked by an unseen force that he is convinced was some creature powerful enough to take down a nuclear submarine. Flash forward about 5 years, Ryan Wilson is introduced as a CAD of an American businessman who basically invested a bunch of money in a oceanographic research
I think his name is.
institute.
I think it's Rainn Wilson, isn't it?
Rain, yeah.
Rain.
Is this like a
Rainn Wilson.
Shyamalan kind of situation?
Lying in bed, just like Rain Wilson did.
Oh my! Can we end
What?
the
Nah.
Can we end the 5K with a karaoke off, please? I would love to. So we're introduced to this Oceanographic Institute, and it's a menagerie of different stereotype of characters. You know, we were very much entering disaster movie territory where everyone is just like T-shirt versions of actual people. For example, Ruby Rose plays a character just named Jax, Jaxx, because that's the kind of movie we're in right now.
2 X's.
I used to love him in
T-Rex.
Mortal Kombat. You rip the guy's arms off and then beat him with them.
This is the best character.
That's great.
Best character. So this institute is on its way to prove that the bottom of a Philippine trench is actually not a bottom, but a thermal cloud masking a ecosystem that has not been discovered by humans yet.
You know what, Andy? It strikes me as you're going through all this. Not to be too bold, but there may be too much plot in this movie for a killer shark movie.
You know,
Like I feel like the whole synopsis should just be, "Yo, there's a big ass shark."
well, Eric, I'm about to get there, but as you
I don't mean from you. I'm just saying like maybe the people who made this miscalculated a little bit.
No, I agree. And as you are pointing out, we are about 45 minutes into this movie at this point.
Right. Also, Jason Statham rescues his ex-wife who's there for some reason.
Oh, we're getting there. So
For a little bit.
So yeah, that's the plot. They send down a submarine. They pierce this cloud. They get to the ecosystem. They're attacked by a giant beastie thing. They have to go convince Jason Statham to come out of his drunken stupor in Thailand because he's the only man that can get this job done to save his ex-wife who's in the submersible. Thus begins a series of wild adventures in which they encounter a giant.
and
megalodon.
eventually the shark gets out, which leads to the movie you actually want to see.
Yeah.
Where there's a
45
giant
minutes
shark.
into it.
What do you mean the movie you actually want to see? Did you see those pants that Jason Statham was wearing in Thailand? I could not. Okay.
I
Drunken
kind of want to
Jason's-
live in his outfit in Thailand because I just want everything loose flowing
Drunken-
around me.
So relaxed.
Joe, I feel like you would. It was just like a Thailand version of a drug rug, and then
Oh.
big old baggy linen gaucho pants.
Yeah,
and a
drunken
hat.
Jason Statham was basically like the prop department like raided the local Tommy Bahama, and then it's much like the Jurassic World sequel from this year where the whole character arc is that he's all down and he drinks and blah blah blah, and takes legit 4 seconds of screen time to convince him to join the fold, which in the long run is fine because we didn't need to spend any more time on like meaningless plot points.
But
we're get-
Eric, I want you to sit down and have a beer with me.
yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves though. This is the Meg. This is a movie that I think a lot of like if you like cheesy horror movies, I feel like people were looking forward to this. Some, Andy, why don't you tell me, or let's start with Joe. What'd you think of this, Joe?
I was definitely looking forward to this. Like the promotion had like twinges of like Sharknado and like that sort of fun, like a high budget like sci-fi movie, and we've already kind of goofed around about it, but like takes 45 minutes to see a shark. Like there's a lot of just when I say ridiculousness, like it's gonna sound like I'm negating myself when I said I wanted like a Sharknado type movie, but it's not like fun ridiculous. It's just kind of like why is this happening? There's like a weird love interest between him and this woman. We'll get into it, but like probably the best dynamic is between Jason Statham and this small little girl. They're super adorable together, but like I think what I wanted, and I don't think I'm spoiling too much, but like was what we get in like the last 20 minutes of this movie where shark shit finally like goes off the rails and like it starts attacking people. The rest of it is kind of just like sitting around in boats getting capsized and underwater, like where the shark attacks and then kind of disappears. Like it just wasn't so ridiculous that it was fun, and it wasn't so serious that it was a quote unquote Jaws type movie.
The other thing is, and a lot of people were like high on the Jason Statham hijinks. I don't want to be too bold here, but I don't think Jason Statham is like a funny person. So I feel like if you want to make him funny, you put really funny people around him, let him be the straight guy, let them play off of him. But instead, they've just got him straight up like cracking jokes and doing like physical humor, and it's like, bro, keep working on those abs because that's your asset there. Andy, Sophie, what'd you think of this?
Well, we could have words about Jason Statham, but it's fine. I'm going to be the person on this episode that I love this movie. I mean, it is absolutely by no means a good movie at all. That being said, I will watch and will enjoy just about any shark-related movie, and was very excited for this one. And I feel like when you compare this to other similarly situated movies, when we're talking about like The Shallows or 47 Meters Down, or even when we're talking about worse shark movies like Two-Headed Shark Attack, I mean, this movie had people in it that I enjoy watching, and the CG effects were pretty good, all things considered. And I feel like when you're talking about a shark movie that's not Jaws, like that's kind of the bar where I'm at. So I felt like my biggest concern going into this was what they were going to do. A shark that has a mouth that big, you're not going to get a lot of like really bloody or interesting kills because it can eat like 5 people at a time.
Because it's absurdly large to the point where scale means nothing. Basically.
Right. So I personally
You could say it could eat 5 people at a time, Sophie, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. I mean, and we talked about this over email. Like all of the criticisms that you guys have about the movie, I totally see how those things are true. But I had a blast throughout the entirety of this movie. So I'm just going to be that person over here, like rebutting all of your feelings about it because I had a great time.
Cool. Andy, what'd you think?
Yeah, so I mean, a good comparison of this is, of course, Jurassic World Part 2, whatever the fuck that movie was called. It's more of a disaster movie than it is horror. It's about a group of people that are thinly characterized, that are encountering prehistoric beasts and how they interact with it. And part of the reason why I did like kind of enjoy parts of Fallen Kingdom a little bit more is that it has the specificity of the director's voice, and they tried some interesting new things. This, on the other hand, like is completely bloated and wastes a lot of time getting to where like we're actually going to enjoy like the situations on scene. And I think the thing about it that really actually kind of like helped me enjoy it more so than both you, Eric, and Joe, is the fact that I was watching it with like a 75% full theater, and everyone there was like totally into it. I mean, like it is a dumb, not well-made film, but like having those people around like kind of made me enjoy it a little bit more. That being said, I completely stand with all your guys' criticisms of it.
Yeah, now, Andy, you might know more about this than I do, but so my understanding is that this is one of those joint, like, Hollywood Chinese productions. And now I don't know if, like, when we say Chinese, I don't know if that means that the government is actually getting involved, because obviously, like, the state is involved with a lot of business there. But basically the idea being Chinese interests, let's say, put up a bunch of money, they match Hollywood, they make the movie together with Hollywood talent, and then they also have, like, really prominent Chinese actors, the idea being that when they can then release it in China, it can do huge box office. We've actually reviewed one of these types of movies before, and I can't remember what it was. I'm not even sure if they're all like produced by the same company or if there's different companies doing this thing. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's like, I think the fatal flaw that Joe mentioned right away for me is the 45 minutes thing. Like, there are like 3 separate identical rescue scenes in the first 45 minutes of this movie where you barely see a shark. There's all these characters.
You don't see a shark.
There's all these characters that like aren't really that important. The backstory is like insanely complicated for what I feel like should be really simple. Nothing makes sense. Like the Research Institute, Rainn Wilson shows up and then he disappears for an hour, and then suddenly he's the most important character in the movie. But like the problem, it's a very weird tone, and the pacing is a mess, and it's because like you feel sort of the two masters they're trying to serve, in the sense of like the American side is this Jason Statham helmed goofy action sort of horror comedy thing, sort of. But then you have these Asian actors, and like it's the female the main marine biologist in particular,
Yeah, I think
is,
that's Lee Ben Ben. I think is
she
her name.
is through most of the movie just as prominent a character as Statham, to the point where you can have a legit argument about who is the main character in this movie. But the problem is that it's not that one doesn't get focused on. They both get focused on. Their arcs are like completely meaningless to one another. They get two separate like heroes arcs. Hers is just kind of thrown in at the end. Her dad's like, I was kind of hard on you when you were a kid. And you're like, oh, okay. But like, so the whole movie, you're getting pulled in two different directions. You're like not sure what's important and what isn't. It's trying to be funny, but at the same time, it's weirdly deadly serious. Like, it's a deadly serious movie where the characters make a lot of jokes that I didn't think were very funny. And it's just, I've kind of found the tone to be like super bewildering. I will say that like, there's a moment at this beach scene, like legit 90 minutes into this movie, this shark finds a beach. That should have happened 20 minutes max into this movie, and then they should have figured out where to go from there. And they don't even honestly like nail the beach scene to me. Like Joe's point about this thing could open its mouth and swallow like 100 people at once. There's literally hilarious scenes where they try to show it biting Jason Statham or something, and they have to get so close up to even show, because you can't. It's so big. It's so absurdly big that any kind of tension you might have is gone, because it's too big for your brain to wrap around, but not big enough to blow your mind. You know what I mean? It's not like Cthulhu rising out of the water, but it also like you can't get your spatial sense because the thing's so damn big. So when they're trying to have an up-close scene where it's biting on you, literally, it's a tight shot. You see like one tooth in the frame, like grabbing at his pant, his fucking wetsuit or something.
Right.
So,
and I mean, like, I kind of want to go back real quick to like the point that Sophie made about what you want out of a shark movie that's not Jaws. I think that's like a really good description for like this type of movie, because this movie exists in a world in which Jaws exists, its 3 sequels exist, and then there's also 5 other movies called Sharknado.
Right.
And so it's like, if you have that type of film out there, it's kind of like, well, what are you gonna do, right? Are you
and
gonna
it's our
like
third theatrical release movie about sharks in what, 3 or 4 years?
Sure.
Right.
Like
right.
I think it's written, and I don't know if this comes from the sort of Chinese side of production or like what they're looking for, but it feels written like a serious action movie, and that to me is like so wrong. Like that is just not, I don't think, how this should be played. Not until you're at the end and there's like some dummy in a big blow up thing, and like there's a dog named Pippin, which is like a Jaws reference, and like finally I feel like it's got these flashes of like, oh, like this is what this movie is supposed to be. But it takes so long to get there. I was glassy-eyed by the time it hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to your point, like we kind of talked about it over email, like even that beach scene, like the entire time I'm waiting for this shark to like let loose and just start eating people left and right. But we get to the beach, and what we get is like a 15-minute shot where they're kind of playing this gag where they're showing a guy like in this inflatable ball. And it's like, oh, maybe it's going to chomp him. Nope. Then they show this kid. Maybe it's like they keep going back and forth between like, oh, where's it actually going to pop up? And then when it finally does, it ends up just dragging these flotation things that a bunch of people are on and not actually killing anyone.
Did you notice that he bit the ball thing, and somehow the ball didn't instantly explode? It actually like shot out of his mouth to the side, like still intact.
Exactly. Yeah. Which
it was absurd.
Again is like kind of goofy fun, but like by that point where like the other point is this movie's almost 2 hours long, which is freaking ridiculous.
See, I just feel like, and it's like it's like you feel like you're, like Andy said, you feel like you're watching kind of, or you should be watching like an epic disaster movie or something. But the thing is that there's not a lot of feeling of wider sense of danger. For 90 minutes, there's 8 people that the shark is threatening for 90 minutes. Yeah. And it's not till to me, this is how I would have done this, Joe, if I made this movie. I think the shark should have escaped within the first half an hour, and it should have just massacred a beach somewhere, and then maybe gone back out to sea. And then they could do all their bullshit chase and all that dumb shit. And then you like set up a larger beach or like some kind of larger situation where it could cause even more carnage. And then maybe that, you know what I mean? It's like the reason why it takes so long to get there is because of how bloated the script is. Like they are trying to fit in so many plot lines with the main characters and the side characters and like Rainn Wilson and the biggest what the F is the ex-wife. The ex-wife is the ex-wife is the entire impetus for him coming back from his drunken stupor. He rescues her. She disappears for no BS an hour of this movie. And then
we don't know anything about her before that.
To the
except
point,
that she's a lady submarine pilot.
To the point where you see her later on in like a medical bed and you're like, what?
Oh yeah.
What happened to her? Like you're like, oh my God, that's like an entire character this movie just forgot about. And then she comes back and she's like, hey, you should bang the Asian lady. And Jason Statham's like, ha ha, wink, wink. And then it's like,
did
what?
anyone else feel weird about how invested everybody else was in Jason Statham banging his co-star? Like everybody was like, we can all tell that you like her. You should go for it.
Including her daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely some like producer notes that were just like handed out to them, be like, okay, we got to really make sure the charisma between these two is actually working.
Also,
when in fact, the best charisma in the movie is between Jason Statham and her
daughter. Oh my gosh,
well,
Jason Statham should always have at least one child co-star because the chemistry was great. Like they were hilarious.
And look, like I actually I liked this the Asian lead a lot. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting her name.
Lee Bin.
Yeah, but like I liked her, but clearly English is like not her native language, and you're asking her to have chemistry with Jason Statham, who like can barely speak English himself and form lines, and it's just like it's like
it's like where
it's
is
like
all this hatred coming?
You know, so it's just.
Did you guys see Spy?
I want to see Jason Statham do one thing, and that is punch people and shoot holes in their head, and he doesn't do almost either of those things in this movie.
Listen to Andy. You should watch Spy. He is amazing in that. Also, Jason Statham in all the Fast and Furious movies he's in is incredible.
You mean Spy, a movie where he's surrounded by comedic actors?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he does a great job. He's got good timing.
Like in this movie, he's surrounded by the likes of such comic heavyweights as Guy with Beard, or
well, that's what I'm saying. It's like he didn't have a lot to work with here, and the script was not great. The thing that's fascinating to think about with this movie, I mean, to your point about the action could have absolutely been ramped up earlier, is that I would imagine, as someone who reviewed all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I had to do the body count for every movie, I guarantee you that more than half of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies had a higher body count than this movie. Because not that many people die.
Right, and it attacks a beach full of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally, like that beach gave me like terrors of how cramped it was with people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, like there was a really good shot where they did like a god's eye view of like all the inflatable tubes, and it looked like a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Oh, it was
Joe,
terrifying.
there is a lot of people in China. I mean,
apparently they were all at this beach on the same
It's funny because I actually like, and I really appreciate the different feel that you get, because like, you know, this climactic scene happens on a Chinese beach and people are speaking Chinese, and it's like at that point, if you know the background of the production, it becomes very apparent kind of what's going on. That's kind of neat. It's just not something you see in a movie, and that clash of cultures I find super interesting. Unfortunately, I also think that it can cause a lot of issues with tone, and I feel like that's one of this movie's biggest problem. You know what I mean? I'm always saying that like when we watch like horror comedies in different languages with like subtitles, and most of the comedy here is not subtitled. That's not kind of what I'm getting at, but I just always feel like there's a language barrier with some of that stuff. I don't know. I don't know what the production is like, how much script, you know, I don't know if we're like writing the script, then we send it across the world, they rewrite it, then you know, I could see that causing a lot of issues that you see here. And again, like the serving two masters thing of, well, we have to have these Chinese actors who are main characters, but also we want to sell this in America, so we need to make Jason Statham a main character, and it's just such a mess. The pacing is a hot mess.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I would... Oh, go ahead, Sophie.
Well, I was just going to say, speaking of how many masters this movie is serving, did anyone else notice that Nike absolutely put down some cash for this movie? Like, Rainn Wilson comes onto this this ocean station with a backpack and somehow has two high-top, very expensive pairs of Nikes. And they cut to several other people wearing like Nike jackets, Nike pullover shirts, and they center the logo in every shot. I mean, the scene where Rainn Wilson gets out of the helicopter, when we first see him, we see him get out of the helicopter, and they cut to a close-up of just his sneakers. And it was like, oh, cool. So Nike, I guess, was like...
it was weird.
Well,
then he looked...
We can thank Nike for the CG effects, so, I'll take it, I guess.
It was weird. Then he looked at the pilot and was like, just do it. Rainn Wilson's another great example, though. So, like, Rainn Wilson is like the billionaire benefactor who created this ocean base thing, even though he doesn't seem to know anything about it or what they're doing there.
His beat business is going really well.
The movie opens as he shows up and he wants to know what's going on, so they're giving him the tour. So that kind of acts as our indoctrination into what's happening here. Rainn Wilson seems to be a very important character for the first half an hour, then disappears for 45 minutes. Then he's the most important character in the movie after being gone for an entire act of the movie. But then all of his motivations are like the most important thing, even though we know nothing about him. Really, just kind of to Andy's point, it's and what I mean. I actually don't need like really greatly drawn characters in this movie if you're doing the stuff to distract me from that, which is having a lot of carnage and having it be really funny and crazy,
Sure. I mean, like, I think to kind of put like a more fine point on like why a lot of this movie doesn't work, whether it be shark or person, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like there's just zero intimacy in any of this. If you think about like what is so horrifying,
so you're starting to sound like Schnars over there, Andy.
If you think about like what's so horrifying about the idea of like something unknown coming up from the deep after you. I mean, like you're in the water, you're usually not clothed very much, and so like you're very like laid bare there, and that's the kind of horror that Jaws played up so much. Whereas like here, because of the size and the immensity of the shark, there's just like there's no sense of like any like individual personal stakes with it. It's all like it might as well be like a building on fire trying to chase the rock is what it might be.
I would have liked to have seen that.
You still can.
As someone who experiences very serious shark anxiety, I cannot agree with you. But
the one thing
where you're coming from.
The one thing I will say, Sophie, is like I definitely appreciate what you and Andy are talking about the audience. Like my audience was not here for it, so to speak.
Same.
My audience was straight up yawning. Like I took note at one point. There were like 5 people yawning at the same time. The jokes were not landing, and so that the same way that a positive audience feeds into, I think a negative audience does the same thing. You know what I mean? But I could see, especially like Saturday night raucous crowd or something, people being crazy into it. That would 100% increase the enjoyment of this, I think.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I do want to... Oh, go for it, Sophie.
I was just going to say, I just want to be clear. When I saw this movie, there were maybe 5 people in the theater, and no one else had any kind of audible reaction to the movie. So that did not factor into it for me, although I would really love to see it in a packed theater, because I think having the kind of experience that Andy had would be awesome.
Sophie, I was trying to give you an out there.
I'm just trying to say, like, I had that reaction. I was that reaction in my theater. Like, there was no one else helping me out.
Listen, all I'm saying
I
is...
just don't understand what the hell's wrong with you, Sophie.
All I'm saying is...
I love shark movies, Joe.
All I'm saying is I saw the original Hatchet with a Midnight Audience and loved it. So anything is possible.
Right.
One other thing I do want to say about my audience's reaction to this is there's a moment when Cliff Curtis's character, Mac, is Cliff Curtis is awesome, and like he's basically your stalwart, like go-to guy in an action movie kind of character actor. So he's swimming to a boat after one of the Megs attacks them. We haven't even gotten to the point that there's actually 2 sharks in this movie, but that doesn't really matter. So he's like swimming to a boat.
It really doesn't seem to matter to the people in the movie because they don't explain it or even talk about it when it happens. They're just like, oh, okay.
2 got out.
2. So he's swimming to a boat to get it. And then somebody who's sitting behind me was like, wait, who is that? And I think that that's like a perfect example of like none of these characters mean anything to any of the audiences that you're watching it with.
Yeah, it was very surface level.
Yeah.
Which again, like I don't super care if it's fun, but
do you guys want to extrapolate a little bit and talk about what we think this movie is trying to say about the world we live in?
Oh dear God, no! What? No.
I would love to know.
What do you think like the message of this movie is? If you had to like pick something out,
if you have ideas, buddy, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing here. I mean, like you start out with like I'm sorry, is it Rainn?
Yes.
Rainn Wilson? Yeah, you start out with Rainn Wilson's like kind of like, I mean, a lot of this is boilerplate. a capitalist American dude who's like irresponsible and just kind of like making choices for money, and then it has like drastic repercussions for a bunch of like nameless people. So I mean, like,
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but is he the one that says like, no, you have to go through the cloud floor? Like, I feel like he was kind of inconsequential in that whole like.
Yeah,
discussion,
he
because it
doesn't
seemed
seem
like,
he doesn't seem like a bad guy until he decides to be a bad guy an hour and a half into the movie.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
He didn't.
or help.
Also, can you please make a band called the Cloud Floor?
It's called a thermocline, Joe.
Thermocline.
Did you notice that too? Like the cloud floor really only covered up like maybe 20 feet more of like ocean floor.
Yeah, it wasn't that impressive. It was like, oh, here we go. It goes a little
like,
bit further.
Oh, there's like a little bit further down, and like that little bit further down was like an entire like Atlanta aquarium shoved into this one place where there was just like fish literally couldn't like move next to each other because they was so packed with like life.
If
yeah,
you guys
how
have
is there room
ever,
for a megalodon down there, or 2 megalodon down there, and a giant squid?
it's basically the opening of Little Mermaid. That's what the bottom looks like.
It pretty much is. Yeah.
There's even like an octopus witch down there. We haven't even talked about the octopus witch.
Yeah.
All right, but sorry, go on. I cut you off.
No, I mean, I got nothing. I mean, like this movie. I mean,
So you
one
brought
thing I will give
just,
this
to be
movie-
clear, you brought it up, had no answer.
well, I wanted to get a conversation going. Wanted to see what you guys thought.
I got nothing,
But,
buddy.
It was a valiant effort.
But one thing I
Um,
will say about this that it did that most shark movies don't is it actually like makes a point about the fact that like people are killing like sharks that are in existence, and it actually is kind of like
the stupid throwaway line, you know, because like we've all most people are familiar with shark fin soup, and they catch the sharks, they cut the fins off, they throw them back. It's like this really horrific real life thing, but it's like paid the least bit of lip service in this movie, and then the shark eats the guys in the boat, right? And then later when they find the boat, they're like, well, that was this movie, right?
Yeah, the Meg
Yeah,
got
that's-
revenge.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it looks like he got revenge for his brother, like some dumb line about, and it's like, yeah, yes.
I don't think he said that he got revenge for his brothers.
No, but he
But
said
I
something.
wish that
But
he had.
the thing he said was equally stupid. I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
after he fishes like a human arm out of the water.
So dumb. Anyway,
Got him.
Can we talk for a minute, since maybe I'm the only one that's brought it up, so I just want, maybe I'm the only one. Like, can we just talk for a second? I know that you all had problems structurally with the movie, but I thought like visually they did a pretty good job. No? Everyone's scowling at me.
It's fine. I mean, it's
Sure, it was fine.
It
Too
felt
mu-
very flat.
Here's
to
my
me.
problem.
It's-
Way too much time
Yeah.
underwater. Spend more time like above water where it's like sunny and looks nice and it's the ocean, right? Like,
But it's a giant shark.
but I mean, they're literally underwater, right? Like you can be on the water fighting the shark in the water. You don't have to be on the seafloor for half the movie. You know what I'm saying?
No,
What if
that's
the shark
absolutely
flew?
fair. Yeah. I just really loved all the overhead shots of like when you could just barely see the outline of the shark under the water. Okay.
I would just recommend.
That's all I have to say.
I would just recommend The Shallows. Is what I would say.
Dude, don't even get me started. We just no. The scaling of that shark in that movie was so unbelievably
Wait, what?
inconsistent. Not to
Excuse
mention,
me?
like
Come
it's the
again?
size, not like sharks don't have scales.
Just
But
to be
also,
clear,
like,
though,
they
you're
gave
fine.
Blake
What you're saying
Lively
is
a butt double, and I just can't with that movie. I can't.
what you're saying is you're fine with the Meg's size, though.
Yeah, the scale there.
It's a megalodon, but it stayed the same size.
Well,
Okay.
no, there was one that was smaller.
Right, but they were 2 sharks.
All right,
There was
guys.
more megalodon.
All right, guys. I'm shutting this down. Would you recommend this movie, Andy?
Video, friends, beverages.
Sophie?
Yeah, same.
Joe?
No, I would watch Jaws or Piranha or
I would watch
really anything
Jaws.
else.
Bold statement there, Joe. No, I'd watch Jaws.
Well, I'm saying if you want like a serious shark movie, obviously there's a better one out there. And if you want like a fun,
Yeah,
like sort of
yeah.
sea movie, like Piranha or Sharknado, like any of those are better than this.
I'm with Andy. If you love sharks and you love Jason Statham and you're like one of the people who thinks he's funny, not this guy,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, then you might be able to have some fun with this. But that's like a very specific person I just outlined. You write into the show if that's you. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So. I'm not seeing Sophie over there, so I don't know what's happening. I would say whatever. That's my rating. All right, guys.
Wow.
It is time to do some fan mail.
They're coming for me. The creators of Tales from the Crypt have unearthed a story so terrifying it can only be seen on the big screen. Bordello of Blood.
Go for it.
Rated R. Starts Friday, August 16th at theaters everywhere.
Hi, this is Billy Bryan, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror. Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
We're back. Mixing it up there. Info
You
at
didn't
Bloody
do the
Good.
thing.
Info at
I can't move on until we resolve the thing.
Info at bloodygoodhorror.com's email address. First up, Evan says, "Hey guys, I've been listening to back episodes and just finished 88, Halloween 2/Final Destination 4. Eric, I'm confused about this email, but I'm going to read it first and we'll go back. Eric hadn't actually seen either movie, so it was basically Schnars and Mark talking about how bad they were and trying to goad Eric into watching the Rob Zombie Halloween 2 to see if his head would explode. All the voicemails were also about how bad Halloween 2 was. We're talking about the remake. I don't know if I've heard that much vitriol for any movie in the show's history. I just wanted to know if Eric ever actually ended up watching Halloween 2 and whether he hated it as much as everyone thought he would. There seems to be a lot of online talk these days about revisiting the movie and how it's actually some sort of deep, surreal masterpiece. But I watched it recently and fell asleep somewhere around the time Beardy Michael appeared. Is Zombie ever going to make a movie everyone thought he was capable of, or is what we've got so far as good as it's going to get? Thanks, and keep up the good work, Evan." Let me answer your last question first. No.
Yeah.
Also, everything he's made is exactly what I think he's capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes to that question.
You ever heard that football? You ever heard that football quote? They are who we thought they were. That's how I feel about Rob Zombie.
I gotta say, I'm very excited for the next show that Cece's on because apparently she went and saw him in concert last night.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa.
Exciting.
Yeah. She dug through the ditches and burned through the witches.
Yeah, no, I think what you
Landed
see
in
is
the
what
thing
you
of
get at this point with Rob Zombie. So this is funny because I did watch Halloween 2. I could have sworn it was for the show, but apparently it wasn't. I must have gone back later. I got really drunk to try to get through it, and I was like really angry by the time it was over. I think, it's just I can't truck with that shit.
So Eric, I just bought the box set of like all the current Halloween movies, and I haven't watched either of the two Rob Zombie movies. Should I watch either of them?
No.
Listen, man, the first one is, I would be curious to hear your take on it. I think it would be really interesting for you to watch that very close to the new remake or the new sequel coming out.
Sure, yeah.
It's like if somebody, you could tell this is what he did. He looked at the original Halloween and said, it's a very modernist thing. Like everything in this movie needs to be explained. And so that's...
Yeah, I mean, he was out like Michael Myers would be scarier if we knew why he was evil.
So the whole remake is like, why was he evil? Okay, let's see his childhood. Why does he know how to drive? Okay, let's find out why he knows how to drive. Why does he wear a mask? Okay, let's do this. Like all this shit like the whole way. And to the point where you do it and then you realize like, oh, this is just an exercise in stupidity. Like what you realize is that some things are better when you don't explain them. Right?
And I would also say that if the version on the DVD you got is the director's cut of the original Halloween remake, I would absolutely not watch it.
It's still
Rob Zombie was like, "Oh, we definitely need to put this rape scene in here because it's super necessary."
Ooh, no, thank you.
I watched the wrong version.
The only moment I will say is kind of I don't know, stuck with me oddly from that one. Aside from just watch it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but there's a scene where there's a scene where child Michael kills someone with the mask on that he will eventually wear when he becomes adult Michael, but it's like a giant thing, so it kind of looks like an NBA Jam when you did the big head mode code. It's like a little kid, little pudgy kid with a knife with an enormous Michael Myers mask on, and it's actually like a little creepy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but that's about it.
I'll report back.
Yeah, I would super love to hear your take on that, actually.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next up, Rhiannon. What a great episode this was. This is from the last one. I love it when you guys get into a really interesting discussion. It was so great to hear Sophie and Schnars' different responses to the film. Even with only 3 of you on the show, only 2 of whom had actually seen the film, LOL. The conversation is fantastic. Also, as a UK person who isn't familiar with the horror host thing, I've heard of Elvira, but that's the extent of it. The discussion of the phenomenon of the past couple of weeks has been illuminating. It was heartwarming to hear how much the Shudder special meant to you, especially Eric, although it's not something that I have experienced. I think I can appreciate how it felt, especially the appointment viewing aspect, where you feel that other people are tuning in at the same time as you and sharing something. Lots of love to you all. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to know that some of that translated for people who didn't have any idea what I was talking about, because I thought maybe people were just like tuning out.
I remember my first Joe Bob experience. It was Maximum Overdrive.
Dude, but that was one of my first. Yeah, that one and Phantasm 2 are like my 2 go-tos.
Yeah.
Nice. I started listening to How Did This Get Made like a couple of weeks ago, and I've been
it's so good.
I've been marathoning through them. They have a really good Maximum Overdrive episode.
Oh, it makes me so upset though, because I love that movie, and to hear them shit on it for like 90 minutes.
Yeah, like I thought I was gonna have a problem, but they're just funny, so I haven't.
Oh, they're not wrong.
You know what's hilarious, Joe? The one show where I got defensive was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. I was like, no, this movie makes perfect sense. You shut up.
Joe, what are your thoughts on the Maximum Overdrive soundtrack?
Oh my god, I owned it when I was a child. I loved it.
Who?
Nice.
Right?
There you go. All right, guys. This is from Spenny, or Spencer. All this talk about Joe Bob lately kind of dug up some of my own horror host nostalgia, and I wanted to share about the Northern Hostess in case you're familiar. In the late 90s, early 2000s, Canadian Scream Channel featured horror host Mistress Olga, a dominatrix character doing basically what other horror hosts did, and I remember, whenever they'd have their free month trials, they'd put on their best lineups of movies. I'd sit for the whole weekend and watch this quirky, hilarious lady introducing the movies. Do you remember seeing her if you knew about the Scream Channel at all? Also, boo, up here in Canada, Shudder only has 7 or 8 of the last drive-in movies up for streaming due to licensing issues. What a rip. Keep up the good work. You're not so frozen, pal, Spencer. I'm kind of vaguely aware of the Scream Channel, but obviously, like, none of us are from Canada, so.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about it, unfortunately.
Andrew might.
Can I just say, as a BGH related tangent, that for Behold Electric Terror, we're getting ready to cover Harper's Island, which was a 1-season miniseries on CBS. And we in the U.S.
Is Angela Lambert in it?
No.
I'm pretty sure I covered like the first half of that season for the site and did reviews.
I love that show so much. So you can, if you're in the U.S., you can watch it on Amazon Prime. But Andrew, our dear Andrew, is in Canada, so he can't. And I thought, well, I'll just mail you. I own the whole series on DVD. I will mail it to you. And between the two of us getting it to Canada, it cost us like $60 to $70 to get it to Andrew.
You should send those receipts to Schnars.
Yeah.
Have him cover it. I was like, please just don't return them. I'll see you eventually, and you can give them back.
Hey, Schnars, here's a
business expense.
Yeah, here's a business expense from our patron podcast. Okay. Next up, Danny. Joe, I don't think I read this, but I apologize if I did. Joe blew my damn mind when he was talking about Jersey Girl being his favorite Tom Waits song in the Endless episode. I'd heard the Springsteen version of that song a Googleplex times without ever realizing Springsteen's was a cover song.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You run a very informative podcast. Also, I love the Schnars, Sophie, and Eric, who hadn't seen the movie combo from the last episode, made for a really dynamic and funny show, and I think it caused you to get really in-depth about the subtext of the film, Hugs and Kisses, Library of Congress. Yeah, there's something I actually kind of enjoy about not seeing the movie and just kind of playing moderator a little bit.
I'm really hoping that if I won that debate, then Unfriended will make it onto your worst of without you seeing it.
I don't know. I usually reserve that for Wandaverse movies at this point.
That's fair.
Last up, Caitlin. Caitlin in Richmond, it's August, so almost September, so almost spooky season. What have been your best Halloween costumes? I'm sure you'd been asked before, but I figured I'd ask again. My best solo costume was as a Pawnee Goddess from Parks and Rec.
Oh,
awesome.
Right, it's a Pawnee Goddess, right? Those are like the brownie equivalent.
I think
I know
so,
I look
yeah.
young, but I'm actually almost 30, babyface forever. My partner and I also like to go as puns. We were Salvador Dali Parton once, and Peter Pan and Wendy's another time. We are insufferable, and for that I apologize. I'm gonna actually, I have her picture here. It's very adorable. I just gotta find it, and I'll put it up in the video.
I adore a pun costume. That's
I know, me too. Absolutely.
For
Huge
real?
fan.
Shoot, where is this picture? Joe, why don't you start with the tweets, and I'll try to find it.
All right, sure.
Oh.
So we use 2 hashtags here at the Bloody Good Horrors.
Hold on, stand by. Here it is. I'm posting it into the chat. If you guys want to take a look, you can see. So
Oh.
she's
You
here.
guys didn't answer her question. Did you guys have good Halloween costumes?
She's here with a Burt Macklin and a Ron Swanson.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really
wow. That rocks.
It's pretty good.
My parents, last time they came, brought a bunch of old photos, and there's actually one from me when I was like maybe 4 or 5, where I was like the old school Bubba Fett. Like, you know, the old Halloween costumes are just like a plastic sheet that went over you and like the plastic mask. My brother was, I think, Darth Vader. I was Bubba Fett. And like that, hands down, is the best.
That's pretty stellar.
This is awful. Let me preface this by saying that. But I used to have like pretty long, like blondish hair, and so one year I went as Kurt Cobain, and let's call it post-life.
Oh.
And I had some prosthetics. There were prosthetics and blood involved. I'd have to dig up the picture
Ew.
somewhere.
It's messed up.
Andy has his hand over his mouth right now. Let me tell you, it was a real conversation starter.
I'm all right with it.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my god. I think my favorite is Sexy Benjamin Franklin. That was a fun year.
Oh, nice.
There have to be photos of that.
Oh yeah, they're out there. They're out there. I'll try to find one while we're talking.
My pride and joy for Halloween costumes. A couple of years ago, I was Kate McKinnon's character from Ghostbusters, and I made my costume by hand, and I was very proud of it.
Nice.
So.
I definitely have this. This isn't like a best, but I don't know if you guys have this experience, but like, you know, my parents didn't have a lot of money growing up, so when I was young, I either got the Kmart special with the it's like the plastic smock with the mask, or one you're like, I really wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, and so my parents helped me put together this like insanely bootleg Ninja Turtle costume where like literally my shell was like the top of a box with like kind of like armholes put in it, and then the shell was drawn in the back, and then I had like I was Michelangelo, and the eye thing was literally like an old washcloth with like eye holes cut in it, like tied around my head. It was like it was so sad in retrospect, but I remember being really excited.
Oh, that's kind of
awesome.
sweet. One year we made a costume for Mia. I think she was like 3, maybe 4. She wanted to be a robot princess. So like we made this like cutout. It was like a box. We spray painted it. We put like a little tiara on it. Like it was the greatest costume I've ever seen. Like, and we will never top it. And now every year when she just wants like a generic store bought, it breaks my freaking heart.
Yeah, I mean, and at some point, like middle school ish, I just started. You know, that was when you would just go out with your friends and raise some hell. And I might have put on a dumb mask or something, but it was more about like literally my parents, Joe, you'll appreciate this, because like, you know, we grew up in the burbs or whatever. My parents used to help us do the thing with the shaving cream can where you stick. Are you guys familiar
Oh,
with
you
this?
would melt it, right?
Yeah, you stick the needle in the end and then use a lighter and you melt the tip over it. So then when you push the thing, you can like, it really shoots out instead of just like dribbling out.
Yeah.
What?
So you can like legit spray like the shaving cream. So that was part of Halloween night prep, was like my parents would help us do it so they could help us melt the shaving cream thing.
Yeah.
And it was
Oh,
mostly,
wait, y'all are East Coasters. Did you do Mischief Night?
this was just
No,
Halloween night.
it was-
This was just Halloween.
But
Yeah,
so you didn't do Mischief Night?
No, so we would just go around and like spray each other and toilet paper things and do other things that I won't say on a audio recording, and then also like get candy. Like you just show up at people's houses covered in shaving cream, and they just answer the door and be like, just shaking their head at you.
Yeah, they'd get it. They'd know.
They knew.
They know what was happening.
They knew either they pony up or there's going to be some problems.
I see.
So yeah.
We want to do some tweets.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so we use two different hashtags here. First one is hashtag BGH Classics, and that one's if you're poking around some old episodes and a quote or moment kind of tickles your fancy, you can send that in. We got a few here because we've been off a couple weeks. First one from at Jake, or our buddy Jake at JHard0. And this is from me from the 2015 year ender. And this is simply a quote that says, "You like the tentacle sex, eh?"
Which is very appropriate for this movie, as it turns out.
Yes, I have no idea what that possibly could have been pertaining.
Spring?
Oh, yeah.
There's
gotta be.
There's some tentacles business happening.
Probably. Next up, another one from Jake. This is Eric says, "As far as I know, we don't have any regional fast food places." And I reply, "No, you just have teen pregnancy."
Yeah, I wonder if I was talking about like Florida at that point.
Yeah, probably. That's from episode 381, Southbound. One from our friend Mi Corazon Mi Amor. This is Schnars says, Schnars is sharing his theater experience. He says, "It was getting to the point where I was going to have to get up and be like, 'Shut the fuck up.'" And then Mark says, "Were you going to slap them with your gloves?" And Schnars says, "It ended up not having to happen." Episode 68, The Haunting in Connecticut.
Can we talk about this picture of Andy's sexy Benjamin Franklin?
Wow.
Is that what you said, Andy? Sexy Benjamin Franklin?
Sexy Benjamin Franklin, yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow.
You don't have facial hair, and I find that really terrifying.
Andy, look at your chest hair.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in here.
Do you like groom that at all? Do you like do anything to take care of that situation?
There's a lot of neck shaving. We'll put it that way.
Right.
A few more here. First from Skizbot. Actually, two from Skizbot. This one is Mark says, "It's definitely a great kick in the nutsack for a rainy day." And then Eric replied, "I think if I watched this on a rainy day, I'd kill myself." That was episode 26, The Orphanage.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
One more from Skizbot.
Wait,
This is
you
Eric.
you guys didn't like The Orphanage?
No, it was just sad. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah,
an
for
orphanage,
sure.
Sophie. Their parents
okay, fair.
are dead.
Just checking.
Speaking of Jurassic World 2.
They have no.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, they have no parents. They're just clones of dinosaurs.
Eric's. One more from Skizbot. This is Eric. "What I want to remake, the kid from the Shining TV miniseries. I want to remake his teeth." Episode 60, The Uninvited.
I got a tweet recently from Wade Mary Scary, or I can't remember her handle on Twitter there, but she was saying that she watched that movie, had the same reaction, was then listening to our show. That's how she knew we were kindred spirits, that she also hated that kid as much as I did.
Yeah, that kid's teeth, I feel like, have been a constant theme through the show for 10 plus years.
They're aggressive.
And then one more from BGH Classics. This is from our friend David at the coverage guy. He says, this is from John discussing all of the kids watching the movie. "That's actually the perfect amount of child for me. I sit through a 1.5 hour film and then go get home and not listen to a fucking kid."
Who said that?
That was John, episode 218,
wow.
Paranorman.
Now he's got, like, what,
Yeah.
7?
I think there's 14, 15.
Yeah.
The other hashtag we use is AskBGH. That's where you can chime in with any questions or comments for the week's episode. A handful of them here. First one from @TrapperJohn1210, and I'm assuming this is from the other episode, but he says, "Can someone do drive-in totals for the movie?"
Sure.
Or maybe it was for the Meg.
7 people killed, maybe 2.
Honestly, it might have been less than that.
One
Shark
giant,
foo.
one giant shark, one more gianter shark.
7 buckets of chum, 1 bag of chum.
Chunk foo.
0 Jason Statham jokes I laughed at.
What? Boo! 1 adorable child.
Sure.
0 aardvarking.
2 awesome light-up sneakers.
one porthole in the door of your room that anyone can just walk by and see you
Yeah,
changing.
I was gonna say upper male nudity foo.
Yeah.
I was
One-
gonna say, you guys that watched Deep Blue Sea 2, were any of you hoping that they would have cut to a shot of the porthole where the Meg is just staring in the window and listening to their conversation?
It's funny. What movie was that? I was thinking about that movie where the
Deep
shark.
Blue Sea 2.
That was Deep Blue Sea
Oh,
too.
right, the shark
They're
was
so bad.
eavesdropping.
You know how sharks famously just like stay still, you know?
I feel like I probably enjoyed that more than I did the Meg though.
Yeah,
Number
Potentially.
100 and 150, the number of people that gasped when they saw Jason Statham shirtless.
Deep Blue Sea 2 did have that incredible slow motion scene where the shark bit the guy's head off over the hole, and then in slow motion.
And it turned to metal
his whole-
music all of a sudden.
His whole body like wriggled as it flew into the
Yeah.
water. Like that was cooler than anything in Meg.
Yeah. And I also just had to watch that in my living room and not actually leave the house.
It's true.
Next up from at SlovelCody42, he says, just watched Open Water for the first time. Did people like this? It looks awful, and shark play is minimal.
You know what's weird? When Open Water came out, so I don't know if you got the year. If you, I think Open Water, like people were like, I'm
I
pretty.
think it's 2006.
I'm pretty
I was gonna say, I thought it was
positive.
like early 05 or 06.
Yeah, like early 2000s. I'm like pretty positive that I remember the marketing being like the next Blair Witch project because it was really like the next. It felt like the next big found footage thing to kind of go wide and sort of hit big in
Yeah.
a way.
2003.
I remember enjoying it.
Wow.
Right, that would make sense with the Blair Witch stuff because it wasn't that long afterwards. I remember liking it, but like not something that I would revisit.
Yeah. Next up from at Marcus UC26, he says, have any of you guys watched the sci-fi series Channel Zero? It's an anthology show with good horror and suspense elements.
Yeah, I just started actually watching the latest season. I think it's called Butcher's Block, and I'm super into it.
Oh, nice.
I don't really. I have trouble getting into anthology shows unless it's Tales from the Dark Side from the 1980s.
Well, like the thing that's kind of cool about this, it's more like a American Horror Story. Like each season is kind of like its own thing. And so Butcher's Block is actually super interesting because it's set in like a depressed like Rust Belt city, and it's got all these kind of like on its face metaphors of the rich eating the poor and lots of cosmic horror stuff. It's really good.
I watched the first season and half of the second season and enjoyed both. I mean, the second season is the haunted house one, right? Where they go to that really extreme haunted house.
I think so.
I didn't finish that season, I think more for time reasons than anything else, but the first episode where they go into that haunted house and they go into several different rooms that are different horrifying things I thought that was incredibly, I mean, one of the most unsettling things I've watched in a long time. Like that episode is really incredible.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, we got a bunch here, so let's whip through these quickly. Next up from at Reverend Scott, do you think Thomas Jane and LL Cool J could have defeated the Meg? Would the Meg have eaten LL's bird?
I mean, at this point, I thought that Jason Statham was actually going to punch that shark, but I think LL is probably going to be the only person that's going to be able to punch this shark.
His hat is like a shark's fin, so.
And if Pippin could survive the movie, I feel like that bird would be fine.
Hashtag fuck Pippin.
Pepe.
Next up from Skizbot, any special plans for your 500th episode? If my shitty math are correct, you guys should be hitting that milestone towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
We have not figured out anything yet. No.
We're like still recovering from the 10-year, at least me personally. So
I'm sure there'll be an episode. I'm sure. Next up from at Drake Dagonson, who would the Meg enjoy eating more, Quint from Jaws or Samuel L. Jackson?
I feel like Quint from Jaws would get you drunk.
Yeah, agreed.
So bonus.
Next up from King Township Fit, he says, this is good. We haven't got one of these in a while. Brock Lesnar versus a Megalodon. If the Megalodon is about to jump ship to UFC and Brock was up all night before the fight writing angry letters to Candyman.
I feel like we've covered Brock Lesnar in water scenarios before. He seems like he would be an extremely non-buoyant person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if
Sinks
the Meg
straight
is
to the bottom.
if the Meg is switching to MMA, doesn't that mean the Meg is out of water?
It's unclear.
Water
It's
fights?
unclear to me if this is some type of water-based mixed martial arts scenario.
Oh, I see.
Water sports.
We need more information, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So follow-up question: King Township's fit. Is there electricity involved, and does Brock Lesnar know how to use it? Okay.
All right. A few more here from @Ryan Tihan. I don't think we need to answer this one, but why do you still do this to yourselves?
You know.
Because sharks.
Next up from @Pittman1382. Which role was Lin Shaye better in, Kingpin or Insidious?
She's pretty great in Kingpin.
Kingpin, that scene where she like does the whole blah, 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 like I almost peed my pants the first time I saw that. So
I don't know. I prefer her leading role in Doctor 420, and Sophie's the only one who's going to get that because she was the only one on last week's show.
I was trying to remember that the movie she was in that had Jew in the title that sounded really offensive.
Jewtopia.
Yes, I prefer her in Jewtopia.
Jewtopia, wow. Next up, John Schnarr's personal trainer @ZombieWasabi, our good friend Jenna. She asks, what are the scariest creatures in the ocean for you guys? I.e., I hate jellyfish the most. Fuck those gross tasting, directionless bastards.
Yeah, jellyfish and like man-o-wars are really like that whole concept of just like
Yeah,
a floating, translucent, sentient monster is like really terrifying.
Yeah.
Anything that's in the ocean floor that's like a worm that comes out and like will get anything that's near it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a jellyfish can be right offshore, whereas you're not going to encounter that unless you're like deep sea diving or something.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
you never
true.
know.
I have a friend from middle school that was stung by a Portuguese man of war when he was like 12, and he still had like tiger stripe scars all down his.
Yeah, they're brutal, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
sharks
because
are
you
like
could-
my worst fear of all time, so that's an easy answer.
You know what's funny is I like never had a fear of sharks, and then we became really good friends with Freddie from Night of Living Podcast, who was deathly grew up in Cincinnati, deathly terrified of sharks, right? And
we
like,
should talk about this.
I remember meeting him, and we had this whole conversation about it, and then I went back to, at the time, Florida was where I was living, and I was at the beach, and I saw like a shadow under a wave, and suddenly just like it all hit for me, like, oh, that's scary. Like,
Yeah. Listen, this is a real thing. I can't my mom used to have an above ground pool in the backyard. I could not swim in the above ground pool during the daytime unless somebody else was in the pool.
No, I get that.
That's
totally.
how deep the shark fear runs. It's like it's intense.
When I was a kid, I had more fear in like indoor pools, like Olympic swimming pools or whatever, because I don't know why. I just felt like there was gonna be sharks in there.
For sure. They could be anywhere. You never know.
When I was a kid, I was just scared of Russians. I mean,
It was a different
big
time.
threat. When I was in high school, I'll do this quickly because I know we're running late. I went to Germany, and whatever ocean we were in, there's jellyfish there, but they don't have stingers. So like kids would literally just be picking up these giant jellyfish and like throwing them at each other for like just like mess around. It was the weirdest thing I've seen. All right, last one from Drop Your Linen. Do you think the love interest portion of the storyline was completely pointless? Because
Yes.
I did.
Yeah.
Just give me more shark shit.
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, for sure.
Included a GIF. It's really good.
Oh yeah. There's shark clicky thing. I don't know what do you call that. And that's it.
All right.
And we don't know what we're doing next week. So
Love it. You know what we're doing in October, though, Joe?
what's that, sir?
First ever annual BGH virtual 5K.
Can't wait. More
Spooky.
info to come, kids.
Spooky people race for the stars.
That's
Of the
right.
stars? Sure.
Get your indoor kids outdoors.
Sure.
Whatever.
Pay attention to our social media, Joe, I guess, for the info. We're also
Yeah.
kind
Facebook.
of
We'll post it on the site too.
for those super fans out there, we'll definitely be slacking it up. And if you're in Slack and you're not in the fitness channel, it's on and popping.
Mm-hmm.
It's good times. You can learn about Schnotes. Those are John Schnarr's oats.
Also,
Patented.
Eric has created a collaborative workout playlist, so you can put whatever you want on there to troll him.
Yeah, I've noticed like entire albums of things being put on there, and I'm just like, this is extreme. Like,
Yeah.
How much Cardi B you got on there, but
I don't know. It's hard to say because it's open to the public, so anybody could be adding anything. So there you go. All right, guys. That's going to do it for the Meg. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
No, I don't even know where to begin here.
See you
So-
later.
Andy, you go now.
Farewell.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.